Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Laura.
And together we're the Rambling Bookshelf. Today we'll be talking about Ghost Wall by Sarah Moss.
Ghost Wall is a novella about a teenage girl and her strained relationship with her father. So this week we went to our local bookshop called the Edge of the World bookshop. We love it. It's great. It's like a little kind of Aladdin's cave with beautiful books. And we decided to kind of go into a shop and choose a book together. So yeah, that's why we chose Ghost Wall.
Completely decided on a whim.
Yep.
If you had to describe Ghost Wall in 3 words to someone who'd never read it before, what would you choose?
I think maybe, it's a bit cheesy, but like freedom at last.
Oh, interesting.
Because the novel kind of goes a weird way at the end, and it can go one of 2 ways, and either way would be freedom at last.
Oh, that's really cool.
Thanks. I thought it was a bit cheesy.
That.
But
no, that's really good.
There we are. So if you've read it, you'll kind of get what I mean by that.
I enjoy that a lot. That's cool.
What would you say?
Mine are a bit more kind of just adjective-y than that. So I would say it's tense.
It's funny because they're tense.
Sorry. I had to get one in there.
Sorry.
We have to allow it.
Is that why you said it?
No! Tense as in like...
I'm going to say my favourite joke now. I like camping because it's intense. Well done to everybody who's ever heard that before from me. You're welcome. Anyway, so tense.
So tense. Goes over that. Shocking.
Yeah.
And I'd say quite profound.
Yes.
In its own way.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Yeah. I like freedom at last though. That's a good one.
Yeah. It's kind of a nice little kind of summary of that very last bit.
Definitely.
Mental and physical abuse are consistent themes throughout the novella. How do you think this abuse kind of affects the relationship between different characters?
Well, I think, like you say, the actual abuse itself affects different characters in different ways. So the kind of main, I guess, relationship is between Sylvie, the main character, and her dad. Like that, this is the most kind of poignant, relationship, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's also the strain between her dad and her mother.
And then Sylvie and her relationship with her mother.
Exactly. And yeah, I think on her dad's behalf, this whole kind of situation that they're in allows him to almost like practice these abusive behaviours, and his ideals are almost encouraged because their Iron Age ideals are in line with...
You've hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, there are moments throughout that he questions, or Sylvie questions, whether or not his behaviour is okay because of the time that they're portraying. So they're reenacting Iron Age kind of living conditions. So yeah, that's a really good point, I think.
Yeah. And obviously there's also the dynamic between the dad and the mother.
Yeah.
She's
just entirely oppressed by the father.
That's the thing. Yeah, she's this kind of
pet.
It's horrible. She's like the shell of a woman, isn't she? And she's in this reenactment that they're doing. She's taken on this kind of domestic role, hasn't she?
Yeah, which obviously is influenced by her gender, and that's the other thing. Like this kind of, I don't know, this sexism is again kind of intensified by the reenactment because only women can do the cooking because the men would be doing something else.
Yeah.
And there is a point that says like, how do we know that that's what women would be doing?
Exactly.
And so like the father just kind of he uses the time that they're reenacting as an excuse to exacerbate his behaviour. Yeah,
it's truly awful. But this abuse that kind of happens to Sylvie affects her relationship with another girl, one of the students that's with them, called Molly. How does that affect that?
There are kind of hints throughout about Sylvie's sexuality. She kind of describes Molly in kind of a sexual way. She kind of talks about her breasts, her hair, the smell of her, things like that. And I think that it might be kind of encouraged, and her kind of relationship that she could potentially develop with a woman might be influenced by the awful relationship that she has with her father. She might feel a bit safer, and Molly offers her a kind of sanctuary that she doesn't get from anywhere else or anyone else.
Not even her own mother.
No, and Molly is the one that kind of tells her that this isn't right and kind of can bring her out of the situation.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why this kind of relationship, you're not really sure if it is actual sexual attraction.
I was unsure reading it quite a lot of the time because
Yeah.
I was like, maybe it's just Sylvie actually idealising
Yeah.
like what her life should be, that she should just be
Yes.
free to be this like sexual being.
Yes.
You know, because Molly's very open, isn't she? She's
Yeah.
like happy to like be naked and swim in the sea, and you know,
Yeah.
she's, you know, she feels free to do all that in front of like males.
Yeah.
And there's a point, or there's a bit where Sylvie takes a swim in the river naked, and her dad catches her and gives her a horrendous beating for it.
Yeah.
So it's like as soon as she tries to express any sort of
individuality,
Yeah.
it's taken away
it's
from her.
punished.
Yeah, so it's kind of unclear whether or not it is a sexual attraction
Yeah.
or if it is just like Sylvie idolising this
Yeah.
person who's allowed to be free. But that's something you can discern when you read it yourself.
Mhm.
But regardless of what the intentions are of Sylvie and how she feels, I think it is exacerbated by the father's abuse of like to her.
Almost 100%.
Yeah.
I would agree. This novella is only 150 pages, so what do you think worked especially well within those?
I think it being written in first person from Sylvie's point of view was kind of really nice bit to read.
Mhm.
It flowed really well. There weren't really chapters. There was kind of a bit would end and then a new bit would start, but it wasn't kind of chapter 1, chapter 2. So I think it flowed really, really well, and this allowed Sylvie to express herself.
Definitely.
And it's almost like she could express herself internally through the novel, but couldn't externally in the world that she was in.
Yeah. No,
So I
think
quite
that's
liked
good.
it. Yeah, so that for me was the bit that worked for me, was writing it in first person. What about
Awesome.
you?
Well, I really enjoyed the kind of author's descriptions of the area they were in. She writes with a really, really strong sense of place. Like, she's obviously done her research about archaeology and reenactment, and it's set in Northumberland, so she must know the landscape quite well. And honestly, reading it, you just feel like you're on the moorland with them. And that was just an aspect I really enjoyed about it, because I love being able to kind of submerge myself in a book. And I felt I could do that with this, despite it being so short.
Yeah, she creates a really beautiful
Yeah,
like place,
Yeah.
despite the harrowing things that sometimes happen.
definitely.
Beautiful place.
Yeah.
So would you recommend this book to somebody else?
100%. I loved it. It's kind of, I'd say, one of the best short stories I've read for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
It's got everything in it that I wanted it to. But also, at the start, we bought it on a whim, so we didn't know where it was going to go. And yeah, I was just really, really pleasantly surprised by it.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
Mhm.
I kind of expected, it's called Ghost Wall. I expected it to be about ghosts. I
Yeah.
expected like a horror story.
Yeah.
So I was quite kind of shocked when it was this kind of autobiographical almost telling of a reenactment scenario that just gets out of hand. But yeah, no, I thought it was really good, and it took me down a path that I didn't expect, like you say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would recommend it, but I wouldn't tell people much about it.
No, what I will say is I 100% thought it was going to go down a kind of Lord of the Flies route.
I haven't read Lord of the Flies.
And there are bits. But yeah, the prologue and the end of the book are very significant, so pay attention to those.
Yeah.
If you do go and read this.
That's all for this week. Join us next week for another ramble.
Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe down below.
And we have completed
And see.
video number 4. Goodbye.